Good morning. I'm Yvette DePisa, Director of the MassDEP Drinking Water Program. This training is being recorded. Thank you all for attending today's Lead in Drinking Water Program updates, and I'm calling it the reminder for the October 16th and other deadlines. This training had a maximum capacity of 300, and we have more than 300 people registered, and I believe they're in as they will over time. So today we are going to go over the October 16th and other deadlines, including lead service line inventory, consumer notices, Tier 1 24-hour public notice for 90th percentile lead action level exceedances. And as you all know, yesterday EPA released the LCRI final rule, which is the lead and copper rule improvement regulations. So we are going to talk to you a little bit about that. Please remember, those changes that were released yesterday are not yet in the Federal Register, which will probably be in a couple of days, and they do not impact the deadlines that we are going to be speaking to you about today. States have 2 years from the publication of a new federal regulation in the Federal Register in order to promulgate their own rules. And deadlines in the LCRI are primarily 2027. And as you know, it always provides training on their rules after they show up in the public, in the Federal Register. So we encourage you to stay tuned for that. We also encourage you to continue to read in the main newsletter, because that's where we're going to keep you informed about any changes and new rules and anything that you need to be aware of. And also, we are going to be providing training on the LCRI and all things lead early next year. So just remember that the LCRI is about 2027 deadline. So for today, place all your questions in the chat box. We will answer them at the ending of the briefing. All questions that we are unable to answer today, as well as today's slides, will be, and the videotape will be shared on our webpage by Friday. If you have any issues with this webinar, please log out and log back in. If that does not work, please contact us at program.director-dwp@mass.gov. We are monitoring that email address and will reach out to you and help you to address the issue. Today, you'll be hearing from the following presenters. Jasmine Strangis. Jasmine is an environmental analyst in the drinking water program, and her specific program area is the lead and rule and the Safe Drinking Water Act programs. Jasmine has a Bachelor of Science degree from UMass Boston. A second presenter will be Kathy Wannett. Kathy is retired from MassDEP Western Regional Office. She retired in 2022, and she has worked in all 3 of MassDEP bureaus. Her most recent work was in the drinking water program, coordinating the region's lead and copper rule program. Kathy has a bachelor's degree in biology from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and a Master of Science in Public Health from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Other staff helping with this presentation today will be Jessica Zabriskie, Ben Gutterman, Yoyano, Kirsten Chin, Sage Grace, Hannah Parson, Alex Lynn, Andrew Andresco. I want to thank you all for being with us today. And if you have any questions after today, please reach out to us through our email address. We have a limited time before that first deadline, and we are here to help you to make sure that all water systems are in compliance. Thank you, and I will now turn it over to Jasmine.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine Strangis, as Yvette already said. So to begin our presentation, welcome to the 2024 Lead and Drinking Water Program update. So for the lead and copper rule revisions of the LCRR, the compliance date is October 16th of this year, so next week. By this date, community and non-transient non-community systems should submit an initial service line inventory. Any systems that have lead, galvanized requiring replacement, or unknown service lines that are using SRF funds to develop an inventory will need to submit a lead service line replacement plan summary, which is located on our website. However, we are encouraging all systems to start developing these plans now. Another requirement that will be effective after October 16th are the service line material consumer notifications. These notifications must be sent to any buildings or structures that have lead, galvanized requiring replacement or GRR, or any unknown service lines. This should be done 30 days after submitting the service line inventory, which means by November 15th. So let's say in your inventory you have 10,000 unknowns. That means that by November 15th, you will need to send 10,000 notification letters to those households or structures. Also, after October 16th, systems exceeding the lead 90th percentile of 15 parts per billion will be required to do a Tier 1 public notice to all customers within 24 hours. And then, so the LCRI, the Lead and Copper Rule Improvements, was announced yesterday. It has not been published in the Federal Register yet. And some of the key points are that the action level exceedance for lead will be lowered from 15 parts per billion to 10 parts per billion. To start preparing for this requirement and being compliant in October 2027, MassDEP will be putting together a list of systems that may be at risk of exceeding this new action level to provide them technical assistance. The LCRI will also require a baseline inventory that will be due October 27. This means that from now until the date of the LCRI, PWSs must work towards submitting a complete inventory, which requires the identification of connector materials. Our current workbook already asks for this information, so we will have 3 extra years to gather and complete that. The baseline inventory will require street addresses to be included. The majority of the submissions we have so far do comply with this requirement, but we will work with any system using other locational identifiers to update their inventories prior to this requirement in 2027. The LCRI will also require a validation pool consisting of all service lines categorized as non-lead, excluding non-lead services identified by records, visual inspection of the pipe exterior at a minimum of 2 points, or previously replaced lead or GRR service lines from the validation pool. Please note that we will continue to provide technical assistance to systems to reduce the number of unknown service lines in the state. The LCRI will require in a 10-year time frame the complete removal of lead and GRR service lines, including on customer property. After submitting your inventory this year, PWSs should also focus on developing a lead service line replacement plan, which is due in 2027. We will help systems with technical assistance to achieve this goal. The LCRI will require systems to take first and fifth liter samples if a sampling location has a lead service line for lead and copper rule improvement compliance. The school sampling requirements will also require systems to be compliant in October 27, when the LCRI will take effect. Massachusetts is already working with systems to comply with this requirement under the pilot program. The good news is that since the LCRI has been announced and will be published soon, PWS should focus now on getting the inventories in this week. Remember, this year, you will continue with your regular LCR monitoring. By October 16th, you will submit the initial service line inventory and the required forms. By November 15th, you will distribute all service line inventory consumer notices. And the 24-hour PN, or public notice, will be triggered if the 90th percentile for lead is exceeded. In 2025 and 2026, you will continue sampling under the LCR. Plus, you will have the 24-hour PN and the annual consumer notices, and then the required certifications until October 27, October 2027, when the LCRI will become effective. From 2027, you will have 10 years to conduct lead service line replacement, and then this will be due in 2037. Now that we know the timelines and requirements of the different revisions to the lead and copper rule, here are some of the most asked questions this year. Do I need to submit an inventory even if my system doesn't have lead? Yes. PWSs that do not submit an inventory will result in enforcement. When do the filter pitcher requirements start? So that starts in October 2027. Do I need to start sampling 20% of the schools and 20% of the child cares in 2025? No. This requirement is going to be paused until October 2027. Starting October 16th, 2024, is the action level for lead 10 parts per billion? No, it is still 15 parts per billion until October 27. Okay, now let's move on to the SLI and some quick reminders for you. You have to submit your inventory. There are no extensions. If you haven't finished gathering the data, please send us what you have using the right format and submit the inventory with unknowns, but please submit it. Remember, the submission should include all service lines connected to the distribution system, regardless of ownership. Potable and non-potable service lines should be recorded. Service lines connected to vacant or abandoned buildings should also be included. If the water in your system is treated prior to consumption, and there are no service lines after treatment, this PWS may have no service lines in an inventory and should contact the DWP to request the No Service Line Inventory certification form. And that can be submitted instead of an SLI workbook for those systems. Okay. So the inventory must be submitted to MassDEP Drinking Water Program as a CSV file attachment. Please be aware that external links in the email body are often blocked by our IT department due to cybersecurity reasons. So please remember to send it to us as an attachment. Same with the certification forms. Remember, systems using SRF funding to develop the inventory also need to submit the lead service line replacement plan summary, which is posted on our website. If your system has no lead, GRR, or unknowns, you should submit the non-LSL certification form. In addition, all systems should submit the SLI certification form. This form asks for specific information about the verification methods used. Now to the part that everyone wants to know, enforcement. So what will result in referral to EPA for enforcement? Not submitting your SLI to MassDEP by October 16th, 2024. If you submit a blank inventory or an inventory that doesn't have all of the required fields. Required fields would include locational identifiers, the service line classification, the verification method, or if significantly less service lines than what is recorded in your ASR are included. Inventories that have less than 10% of their service lines without one of these required fields can be subject to enforcement discretion. Other things that will result in a referral for enforcement are if a system doesn't make their inventory or non-lead statement publicly available on October 16, 2024, can also be subject to enforcement. Now, what happens if I submit my inventory by October 16th and make it publicly available, but I don't submit the certification forms? In this case, MassDEP will contact you with a date for submission of the missing forms. If you don't submit by the new deadline, you will be subject to enforcement. And what happens if your SLI has minor errors? Will you be subject to enforcement? No. We will provide you with an error file and we'll ask you to resubmit by a new deadline. If you don't submit it again, you can be subject to enforcement. So let's talk about our other upcoming deadline, the service line inventory consumer notices. Structures with service lines identified as lead, GRR, or lead status unknowns must receive a consumer notice by November 15, 2024. This notification must be repeated on an annual basis until the entire service line is no longer lead, GRR, or lead status unknown. For new customers, PWSs shall also provide the notice at the time of service initiation. PWSs must certify to MassDEP that all notices were distributed by completing a certification form and submitting it by July 1st of the following year. MassDEP has developed consumer notification templates. PWSs are encouraged to use the MassDEP CN templates and to only change the highlighted areas of text. If a PWS changes language beyond the highlighted areas, or if they use their own templates, they must submit their templates to MassDEP by the program director email at least 2 weeks prior to the planned distribution date and receive approval from MassDEP. Okay, so here's a quick video with how the notices look like. For the blue highlighted text, you must choose one option. For example, you could choose to include the verification method. You will need to replace all yellow highlighted areas, and then the italicized text is the health language and cannot be changed. Next are the steps to reduce exposure, followed by any opportunity your system is offering for lead service line replacement and explaining who is responsible for paying for the replacement, as well as information about any financial incentives your system is offering. Systems without any incentives may want to direct their consumers to contact their home insurance to see if they have any policy that covers service line replacements. The notice must be distributed by mail or direct delivery. If a PWS intends to use an alternate delivery method, such as email, they must receive written approval from MassDEP prior to doing so. PWSs must send notices to the occupant at the service connection and the owner of the property if the occupant and the owner are not the same person. By doing so, you will ensure that the person responsible for replacements is being notified and the person consuming the water can take proper steps to reduce exposure. For delivering the notification to schools, PWSs are not required to share information regarding service line material with parents or guardians of students. However, it is recommended that you encourage schools to share their service line information with parents or guardians if possible. For abandoned and vacant buildings, you are not required to provide consumer notices, as the abandoned or vacant structure will have no consumers to notify. Should an abandoned building be reconnected to the PWS in the future, the PWS must provide the consumer notice upon service initiation. Okay. And what about delivering notices to multifamily structures and structures serving multiple people each day? The regulation is clear. The notices must be delivered to all persons served by the water system at the service connection. This means that for these type of structures, PWSs must provide this notice in a way that is reasonably calculated to reach all persons served by drinking water in the building. This may be done by posting the notice in a publicly accessible place for each building served. Please note that if one property has multiple buildings, each building should have its own notice posted. The PWS is not responsible for posting these notices in each structure or building. Instead, the PWS can deliver the notice to the contact person for the structure, such as a property manager, with clear instructions for distribution. For all notifications sent to multifamily or multi-unit structures, PWSs must receive written notification from the person working for the structure or on behalf of the structure, stating that the notice has been posted in a publicly accessible location in each building served by the PWS. PWSs must retain records of this certification and make them available for MassDEP review during sanitary surveys and other inspections or upon request. At this point, I'm going to turn this presentation over to my colleague, Kathy Winott.
Thank you, Jessica. So I'm going to walk you through the requirements for the Tier 1 public notice. Next slide. As we mentioned earlier in the presentation, Tier 1 public notices for 90th percentile lead action level exceedances are going to change to 24-hour requirement after October 16th. One of the most asked questions we get is, when does the notification period begin? And the answer is, as soon as the PWS calculates the 90th percentile value after collecting and receiving all of the sample results, but not later than the end of the reporting period. For example, if PWS completes its 90th percentile calculations prior to the end of the monitoring period, that system has to complete the public notification within 24 hours of receiving all the required sampling results and calculating the 90th percentile value. So if in a January to June monitoring period, that absolute end date would be July 10th. For the July to December monitoring period, it would be January 10th. And for the typical June to September monitoring period, the date would be October 10th, unless Massachusetts has approved a different 4-month period. But again, note that if you, and I think we'd expect that not everyone gets their data right at the very last minute. So after your PWS gets all the data and completes the 90th percentile calculation, it's a 24-hour period.
Inventory stuff in their phone.
Oh, somebody's on. If we could I get the next slide, please? Okay, within 24 hours after you learn about the lead action level exceedance, you have to first of all consult with the state as soon as practical to notify them of the action level exceedance and determine if there are any additional public notification requirements, for example, about the content, repeat notices, or posting. Secondly, you need to issue that public notice to customers within 24 hours after the system learns of the lead action level exceedance, even if you are unable to contact the state. And third, send a copy of the Tier 1 public notice to the state, as well as to the EPA via email at this leadale@epa.gov website email address. But you need to work with us with the state for coordinating that reporting to the EPA. Then, within 10 days of issuing the public notice, the system must submit a certification to the state and to the local Board of Health, as you'll see in our template, that the public notice met all the requirements. And this certification has to be submitted for repeat notifications if required. MassDEP is working on video guidance that will walk you through all the requirement contents for the public notice. Next slide, please. For the delivery methods, the PWS must ensure that the public notice will reach all people served by the system, including residential, transient, and non-transient customers. In Massachusetts, the PWS must use one or more of the following methods to deliver the notice to the customers: radio, television, reverse 911, hand or direct delivery, or posting in conspicuous locations. And that posting in conspicuous locations really refers to NTNCs, not to municipal systems. In addition, the PWS must publish the Tier 1 notice in the newspaper no later than 14 days after the exceedance, and a copy of that then gets submitted to MassDEP no later than the time published. If a large proportion of the population does not speak English, the notice must either include the information in appropriate languages regarding the importance of the notice and getting it translated, or provide a phone number or address where people can contact the water system to get a translated copy of the public notice or to request assistance in the appropriate language. Next slide, please. Since 2022, the MWRA communities have been implementing the Tier 1 public notice. So far, we have 7 systems exceeding the action level and distributing these notices. The major distribution methods were television, web posting, and newspapers. As you can see in this table, all the systems employed at least 3 methods to ensure that the notice was distributed to all the customers. For television, some systems have asked if they can only use their local cable television station as the distribution method. So local cable can be one of the dissemination outlets as long as you are also using other methods that can reach all residents and non-residents. Using local cable channel would not be expected to reach all of the consumers or to do so in a timely manner. For hand or direct delivery, a question has come up about whether U.S. Postal Service mailing postmarked within the 24-hour window meets the criteria. And the answer there is no. The consumers are supposed to be receiving the notice within 24 hours, not just getting something postmarked within that window. For posting in conspicuous locations, do those locations have to be accessible 24/7? They should be accessible during business hours. And another question has been, would town and school bulletin boards meet the criteria, such as, for example, the bulletin boards used by the town clerk to post warrants? And yes, that isn't an acceptable way of posting. So next slide, please. Lessons learned from this pilot so far is that the 24-hour public notice requires a lot of coordination between the state agency and the public water system. We recommend that the public water system systems discuss the process with town officials and prepare in advance. Public water systems may consider following the practice they would use to notify with MassDEP and the Drinking Water Program Regional Office for emergency notifications. We will be reaching out in the coming weeks to systems that are most likely to exceed the 90th percentile for lead based on previous data, so that you can start working with your regional offices for notices to be pre-approved. Even if your system is not likely to exceed the action level now, you should start working on these notices and have them ready to go. Timing trigger is the completion of all lab results, but it still could be a surprise, especially for smaller systems. We recommend that the public water systems start the consultation with the state agency as soon as you suspect that you may have an action level exceedance for lead. For example, if you sample 20 homes and already have 3 above the lead action level, it's time to reach out and make sure that you have everything all set to go in terms of your public notice. Next slide. So Mass has completed 3 templates to help you with your Tier 1 public notice. There's the actual drinking water notice, and the same idea as replacing highlighted text as needed. There's the public notice certification, and a whole instruction sheet on how to do the templates. Again, the regional offices are available to help you with this. And we really recommend that it's best to have this really set up and ready to go, so that the 24-hour period is tight enough, but it will really help a lot if you have all of this ready to go. Next slide. And back to you, Jasmine.
Thank you, Kathy. So for our last section, we'll be discussing funding. So we will continue to offer funding to help systems with their inventories. The focus will be on unknowns and verifications, as well as lead service line replacement, in order to be prepared to submit a complete and reliable baseline inventory by October 2027. So for resources, we do have the SRF Lead Service Line Planning Program, which offers 100% loan forgiveness. And we do offer the MassDEP Small Community and NTNC SLI Planning Technical Assistance Program, which offers free assistance from consultants and then technical assistance providers. At this point, we will open up for questions. Dame and Jessica, are there any questions in the chat that we should highlight now for other people?
Yeah, I think I just caught up with the last one. We have a couple we'll have to follow up on. But I think we're up to date on everything. You know, I think some people joined after we said we're going to post all the slides. We're going to post the recording on our website where the other LCRR trainings are located. So you'll see that on the web. I did post the link in the chat. I can post it again. Let's see, where is it? Here it is. So I'll put it back in the chat right now for everyone that might have missed it earlier. This is where we have all of our past trainings, and we'll post this training as well as the slide decks. And I think we're up to date then on everything, unless new stuff came in when I was talking.
I have a question, if I can.
Sure.
We're in the slides where we're still seeing 15 parts per billion. Are we supposed to take that as 10 parts per billion?
No, so the action level that was published yesterday under the LCRI does not change until 2027. So
Great.
from now until that date, it's still 15.
Even with respect to the sampling?
Yes, sampling doesn't change until 2027, the first and fifth liter. All of those changes don't take place until 2027. Essentially, the EPA only highlighted 3 elements of the LCRR that are effective next week, and we've covered them in this training. It's the service line inventory submission. It is the Tier 1 public notice for lead action level exceedances, and it's the consumer notices for those houses and facilities that have lead, GRR, or unknown service lines. Everything else remains LCR, which is the old rule.
Thank you.
Sure. Peter?
It said on the presentation that we had 10 years to make the changeover. Is that correct? Is
Yeah,
MassDEP speaking of reducing that figure down to 5 years? I had heard some discussion of that.
we have a goal of 5 years. I mean, I think our goal is always to reduce lead exposure as fast as possible. The LCRI does have a 10-year window for every system unless you're eligible and the state approves a longer timeline. But that 10 years starts in 2027 and will go for 10 years after that.
And there's no plans to reduce that number?
We've not drafted state regulations at this point. So if we were to consider a shorter time frame, it would be proposed by the state, subject to public comment, and then finalized by the state. So at this point, I can't say anything about what we haven't done.
Thank you. In other words, he's not.
I would say the 5-year goal is a public health protection goal, and we are going to stick with saying that that is a public health protection goal. However, EPA allows 10 years. If you go faster, we encourage that because it's more protective of public health. But the EPA says 10 years, so.
I'm seeing a lot of questions about the inventory and certification submittal process, where it goes to. Can you look at some of those and comment on that?
I can speak to that. So for the inventory and the certification forms, they should all be submitted to the MassDEP email, which is the program.director-dwp@mass.gov email, which I can include in the chat. So that does need to be submitted as a CSV file for the inventory. If you look through the workbook instructions, there's instructions available on the lead and copper forms and templates webpage. I can post a link to that as well. Instructions for both workbooks, and that can walk you through how to turn it into a CSV file. There's an option within the workbook that lets you submit it, lets you export it as a CSV. And then it should be submitted to the program director email, and then the certification form should also be submitted to that email.
So I thought in the instructions, it also referenced a URL, excuse me, in being able to supply the URL instead of attaching the entire inventory. So that's not true. You want the actual inventory file sent to you.
Damon, can you comment more on when a URL will be acceptable or why that would be used for systems?
Yeah, we have to actually get the file itself. We typically will be blocked from accessing local file servers that you might have your inventory posted on. So that's why we actually said a CSV file, which is a smaller size file than the Excel spreadsheet that we've got out there. So yes, you need to send us the CSV itself.
Okay. And I'm just going to keep rolling for a second because I think
Sure.
other people have the same kind of question. If you have no lead in your system, you still have to post the inventory. That's correct on a URL.
So if you have no lead, no GRR, and no unknowns, the rule allows you to post a statement to that effect rather than the service line by service line inventory. But someone just asked me this question in the chat and I answered it. If you post the inventory, even if it doesn't have LSL, GRR unknowns, that also meets the requirement. So you don't have to post both the no lead statement and the full inventory. You can do one or the other.
That's great. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, if you do have LSLs or if you do have GRRs or if you do have unknowns, you must post the inventory line by line. That's the
Okay.
public accessibility. And posting is really only required for systems over 50,000 under the LCRR. You have to make it publicly available, and there's different mechanisms to make it available if you don't want to post it to the web.
And even if you, like, obviously, if somebody is submitting and they're saying they're submitting the inventory and it shows that there are, is no lead, you still, DEP has to approve that first before the public water system can say they have no lead. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have records that are going to counter your records. So, we're not going to say, oh, we know this line is lead or something like that. What we're looking for is completeness. We're looking for the size of the inventory to be, similar to the size of what you've been telling us for service connections in the annual statistical report, and make sure that all the required fields are filled out. The content is something that would be evaluated on a year-by-year basis. The LCRR requires you to update it if you discover changes. And then the LCRI requires you to actually go out and find out what any unknowns are. So there's a couple different requirements that will roll out over the next several years. But our approval is to make sure you've made a complete submission.
Okay, and then just lastly, I'm sorry to take up so much time.
No, that's fine.
One of the things that you did ask, which was interesting, was the number of service connections expressed in the last ASR. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of systems, when we're filling out the ASR, are looking at, the year before, how many more service lines have been added in, but that doesn't necessarily capture, fire lines, multiple
Right.
services after a water meter. So I think you're going to find a lot don't match up as long as we specify why it doesn't. Are we?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah, when we're expecting, we're seeing some of the ones that have come in already are larger than what they told us in the ASR, and that's what we expect to find because, this was a more expansive requirement. They wanted the abandoned facilities, they wanted the fire lines, the non-potable service lines. So we do expect that to be higher than the quote service connections you've been reporting in the ASR. I think where we might raise a question is where if it's significantly smaller than what you've been telling us in the ASR, we're going to ask why are they different?
Okay, thank you.
I don't know the order of the hands, but I'll do Susan Tower first.
Morning. I have two questions. One, if we sent out letters to our galvanized requiring replacements last week, will that count towards the notification that we have to do for November 15th? Because we used the template, we changed it a little bit, that required italicized languages in there, but we didn't get like DEP approval for the template letter that we sent out.
That's good. I mean, EPA kind of expected it would happen as people got their inventories submitted. We just didn't want to start the clock on the 30 days until October 16th. But if you've sent your GRR notifications and you used our template, yeah, you're good.
We did make some tweaks to it.
Right, but you left the
Not the
mandatory.
italicized language, not the italicized language is exact.
Yep, that's good.
Okay, and then you said line by line service inventory. Now, we're a pretty large system, so we don't have that. We have a online map right now where the person would put in their address and then it would pop up with what their.
That's good. As long as they have the ability to look up their address. I mean, there are different mechanisms, like you said. It could be a map, and that's not a narrative line by line. It's a visual line by line, but that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, and the certification shows different ways you can tell us you did it. So it does have like an online mapping tool. You can say you did that, and people can search their homes or their businesses.
Okay, great. And then I think we did say that in the certification that we sent in.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Brian?
I would-
Pending?
Damon, before you go on, I would note that we are going to be looking at the information you submit, and if things are not what we had expected, we will be expecting you to correct it. So you've already done this work and you're going to get credit for that. But we are then going to look at it, and if there are any things that we need to work with you on, we'll work with you on them. Because the consumer notices, because most systems are going to be sending out some form of them. We want to make sure that there's some level of consistency in the stuff that we said is the minimum needs in there, so that there's less confusion across the state. So we will be looking at all of the submittals just to make sure that the things are correct in the notices.
Yeah, and unless yesterday's rule changed this, the certification that you sent those out is due next July. So that's when we're going to be doing a lot of that, review. You can certainly submit your certification earlier. That'll help us out, but most of that work will be next year's, because this is an annual certification. So we would expect that any of the things that Yvette talked about would be then corrected in your next letter to those homeowners. Brian?
Thank you, David. On the same lines of doing work and getting credit for it, I have a question on the validation requirements.
Yep.
I want to know, so for communities that want to get a head start, does the DEP have the discretion to allow public water suppliers to get a head start on validation and have those count?
Yeah, so I can't say I read the 900-page document that hit the web yesterday, so I'd have to really double check on that one. This is an LCRI question for everyone else. There are requirements to validate your non-lead sites if they haven't been documented with several different criteria. So I would hope so, Brian. That's what I would say at this point, but we would need to get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So I would say to Brian, read that 900-page document and make sure that what you're doing is in there.
So if you read it, if you take it at face value, it seems like the validation pool has to be developed after it goes into effect. So any public water suppliers that perform a 2-point inspection prior to 2027 need to exclude those. So it seems like if you take it at face value, it seems like water suppliers would be punished for being proactive. So that's my only concern. I just want to know whether or not the DEP has a level of discretion to say, all right, as long as you do it after October of 2024, we'll count that.
We're going to look into that and get back to you and everyone else, because we want this work to go as quickly as you can do it. So we would look into that and talk to EPA Region 1 and make sure that we're on firm grounds in what we say about this, because we support being proactive.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Michelle? Alter?
I can't. Okay, thank you. I was going to ask, could you review the timeline of the steps to update the online website and report submission? Like, once the online website part of it is done and updated, how do we report that? And when do we need to report that to MassDEP?
Are you saying you're online, like your inventory that you posted?
Lead map.
Your lead map, right? So that's on the service line inventory certification.
Okay.
You would just tell us there that you made it publicly available via an online map.
Okay.
It's in section D of the certification form. There's an interactive online map or a static online map. Those are options you can check. And so when you certify your service line inventory to us, which is due on the 16th,
yep,
you would tell us you're doing that way of making it publicly available.
Okay, great. Thanks.
James Zimmerman?
Yeah. I was wondering if funding might be possible for, because we're a small disadvantaged community. And so we're really run on a shoestring here for the homeowners to be able to replace their lines if we should find that they have a lead line running from our connection into their home.
So EPA did announce some additional funding opportunities yesterday that we have not yet been able to fully understand. Some of those are grant opportunities under the Housing and Urban Development programs, but we're going to have to follow up on that to see what the details are of those programs.
Thank you.
Yep. Jessica?
Yep. I have two questions. My first is about doing the verifications for anything called non-lead. I did ask this question a couple of months ago, and I was told I'll have to find the email of who responded to me, but I was told that no, you wouldn't get credit for them unless they were done after the baseline inventory went in. But if that is not the case, that's great news. So my follow-up question for that is, if doing those validations now would be covered under the SRF funding that's available, because again, now it's not a planning project, it's now a compliance issue. So I'd like to know if funding would be, if it would be an eligible activity under the available funding. And then my other question goes back to the one that I had posted in the chat earlier, where you responded that you would get back to us later, because our clients are very concerned about compliance when it comes to multifamily, multi-building units when one service line goes to that property. So we understand, we attach a letter, we ask the property owners, property managers to post the notifications in their buildings. But again, that follow-up of getting confirmation from those property owners, if you get back to us later, when is that going to be? Because if we don't confirm that it's been posted by November 15th, then it's a compliance issue. So I'm just wondering, how much effort, what do we have to do to document that these notices have been posted in multi-unit buildings?
Right. Let me start with the SRF question. We will forward that question to our SRF program to see if it's an eligible activity. That's something that they really are going to have to answer, not us.
Right.
The slide in this presentation, we talked about delivering to multifamily structures and structures serving multiple people. EPA's response to us on that was, your efforts should be reasonably calculated to reach all the people, but you're not responsible for doing that posting. So the fact that you've sent it to the property owner or the manager or what have you, and you ask them to post it is sufficient. As long as that instruction is in your notice to them, then you've met the requirement.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like you to get written confirmation from them, but I'm not sure how we're going to enforce that or how EPA would enforce that.
Right. Well, that was our concern too, because one of our clients did reach out to DEP directly and got a response and was given kind of a template letter to use and the information to be requested to be sent back from the property owners. So that's when we were like, well, how many times do we have to ask them, and do we have to drive around and check ourselves? We know it's not our responsibility to post them, but everybody's worried about the compliance after the inventories go in now. So that's
understandably so. And we can resend that to EPA as another, clarifying question.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
I just have one thought on that. We want to make sure to protect you as the water system that you have done your due diligence. So when you send a notice to them, make sure you give them an opportunity in that notice for how they can let you know that they've done it. If they don't do it, that's okay. But you would have made that clear that there was a pathway. And this way you've protected yourself. And if you don't hear from them, that's fine. But you did your due diligence. Oh, Amy is next.
Hi.
Hello, Amy.
Hi, how are you? I just have a quick question for Damon. You had mentioned about the public availability of the service lines. And for small systems in section D, it had said that the service line could be available via mail by request. If that is the option that's chosen, does the non-lead service line statement have to be posted as well there's some confusion there because when all of our service line inventories were submitted, we received notification back from program director email that all PWSs must submit the non-lead statement by October 16th, in addition to having a service line inventory. And so you had said that you didn't have to do both.
Yeah, so the chat question I answered was, if I have no lead and I've still posted the full service line inventory, do I have to do the no lead statement as well? And my answer is no. If you're posting the full lead inventory or the full service line inventory, you're telling people what all the individual lines are in whatever method, map, or narrative list you put up there. So the no lead statement is really an alternative to posting that list. It's a simpler way of saying that our system has no lead, no GRR, and no unknowns. So the rule doesn't require you to do both if you have no lead. It really says do a service line inventory unless you take this option of the no lead statement. So you don't really need to do both. So in a small system where you're making it available upon request, you have to tell your customers that it's available upon request. And if you have a no lead statement to tell them, I would just tell them that no lead statement, because that's sufficient to meet your public accessibility requirement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, does the no lead statement have to go to each client, or that the fact that we're making it publicly available upon request and we're retaining a copy with the operations firm and a copy has been provided to the owner and responsible party, does that meet the public accessibility piece?
How are you telling the customers that it's available upon request?
Providing the notification to the property owner or responsible party.
They have to provide it to the customers.
Okay.
So in other words, they have to tell their customers that the inventory is available by request, or what I'm thinking in this scenario where you have no lead, GR, unknowns, that notification that's available should just be that statement. Just send that statement to the customers, but you can't give nothing to the customers. You have to tell them that there's something available.
Right. We're primarily talking about NTNCs here, so.
Yep.
Okay.
So I would post, if it's an NTNC, you've got a facility, I would post the no lead statement.
Understood. Thank you.
Yep. Carrie Lopez?
Just a quick question. The posting of the non-lead service line, not the inventory, but just the notice. Are we, due to the secure nature of our facilities, are we able to post those like we do the consumer notices the consumer confidence report that we do on an annual basis versus trying to mail out to each individual customer on our system?
Yeah, if you're directly delivering your CCR in a method that all of your consumers can see it, you can do this consumer notice in the same way. You can't wait a year. You got to do it in the 30 days.
Okay. All right, no problem. Thank you.
Yep. Melissa Nowitz?
Hey, good morning. Melissa from the town of Concord. I am struggling a little bit with the requirement to notify new customers and been trying to figure out if that's an instantaneous notice. Because with close to 6,000 customers, how we're gonna handle getting notification from our customer service and billing team, and then translating that into a timely notice. And if I'm correct, it doesn't appear that there is any time frame for these notices. It's kind of instantaneous. So just curious as to what DEP's interpretation is and how water systems can meet the intention of this.
Yeah, I can't remember a timeline being in the LCRR either for the new customers, so we'll double check on that and we'll respond in the Q&A. I think a reasonable timeline, as you establish new customers is appropriate, but I'll double check that.
Thank you.
Okay, I know I've got a hard stop at 11, and I know Yvette does as well, but if there's any other questions, I think other staff are going to be available here. I know they've been covering the chat while I've been talking. So hopefully all that's been covered or at least marked for follow-up later. And again, we'll post the entire Q&A, the end of the week. It'll be on our website along with the other LCRR trainings. So hopefully you can follow up there. Anything we didn't get to today, feel free to email the program director email address. And there's a poll right now if you are able to answer that to give us a sense of how we should expect compliance next week.
And we really want all of our water suppliers to submit some form of inventory so that you don't have to be in non-compliance with this federal requirement. And we are here to help you with that. So if after today you still have questions right up to the 14th, probably, we can be helpful.
There is a
Damon,
hand.
You have one more question, Giovanna?
Yes, I posted this question on the chat, but I was asking about the deadline for the customer notification that is November 15th, whether that was send by date or delivery date. So I know there was some, they said we'll follow up, and I just wanted to know how will we find out which one it is.
I believe it's sent by date is what I answered in the chat, but we'll double check. We'll make sure we clarify it in the posted Q&A, but I believe it's sent by.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So I noticed in the poll that only 8 said they don't know. If your answer is you don't know, you need to call us lickety-split after this session so that we can work with you. That's what we're here for. So use our email address and reach out, and we will help you as best we can. We still have TA providers available from our UMass contract, and we do still have access to some of the consultants until the 16th. So please let us know as soon as you can what your needs are.
Yvette, I just have one more comment. So one of the questions in the chat is asking when are we gonna be giving any comments back to the ones that have submitted the inventory about the errors. So we're working, you will be hearing from us the latest Tuesday, but if you submit your inventory on Friday, it might take us a little bit longer. Sorry, I just have surgery, so I can barely talk. So if you can expand on that, Yvette.
Oh, thank you, Jessica. We are going to get back to you as quickly as we can, and we're doing our best. The department has provided some overtime for staff to really try to get this done so that we can meet that deadline for you. Giovanna, you have another question? Okay, I guess Joan has a question from Arlington. Hi, Joan.
Hi, thank you. Quick question, I hope. We're an under 50,000 population. We're sending in our inventory on time, but our interactive map is not gonna be ready till October 22nd. So we're doing some meetings with the public, with our select board on the 21st. And to avoid confusion, we were thinking about posting all of this on the 22nd. I'm talking about the publicly available question. And I heard earlier to put a statement on the website or somewhere that it's available, but we're trying to not confuse people with the CSV file versus a nice user-friendly interactive map.
Can you put something like coming soon?
Yeah, is that appropriate? You're saying we're gonna post all these materials on October 21st? Or 22nd?
I'm looking at Damon.
So EPA has told us there's no extensions, and that's really the only answer we can share.
Okay.
I think it's, if you could post something by the 16th that included the inventory, that'd be best.
Yeah.
I know you're saying the CSV might confuse some people. It's a short window, so maybe put the CSV up and then replace it with the map is probably your best option.
Okay, the statement's not sufficient, that it's available to the public?
Oh, you're under 50,000. Yes, it is. That
Yes,
is.
that's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
we're under
I'm sorry.
50,000.
Right. You
Okay,
did say that. Right. Yeah. You don't have to post your CSV. You can just say it's available and either like give a contact name or something like that.
and just say that an interactive map will be available on the 22nd, and that covers it.
Right.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you for
because
that.
you're not required, you're basically only required to make it available. That could be, put up a phone number, people can call you on the 16th and you can provide them either their information or the whole information if they ask for it. So any way you want to do that, availability is fine.
Great, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, but do it by the 16th.
Okay, we'll get it up there, thanks.
All right, I do have to drop off the call, but hopefully other people will be able to answer any further questions if there are any. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, and I have to drop off as well, and good luck, and hope you're all in by the 16th. Thank you.
Is there any other question, Jasmine?
I can check the chat.
I see one question. Non-LED service line customer notification date is a little confusing. Under 50,000, what is the deadline? Is this referring to post the notice for like non-LED service line systems instead of the inventory?
The inventory is complete. So I guess we have to notify the public that it is complete and that we are non-LED service line community. I was under the impression that that could go out, with quarterly billing and or the next year's consumer confidence report. Is that not correct? Is there a deadline to get that information out there? Is that the 30 days or is that, I thought we had longer than the 30 days to do that.
So I don't know, Jasmine, if you wanna take it, but pretty much you have to make it available on October 16th. And by available, it means that if someone goes to, let's say if it's a small system and you post it somewhere in your office, you have it available for them, you let them know that it's available in sort of manner, it's okay. But Jasmine can continue.
Yes, so you have to have your no LED statement publicly accessible on October 16th, and then you will need to have it in your CCR the following year.
Okay, so if we wanted to do, we just need something on the door that says it's accessible. And
So
then
yes,
mail
so
it to the
some
customer.
ways.
I forget what we put that we would do when we submitted this. But I know right on the submission, it says that we can't, let me back up. The non-LED service line statement, the first line of it is that that DEP has approved on this date. So we can't even fill it out until we know that our service line was, the inventory was approved.
So for those cases, we'd request that you put October 16th for the approval date if you haven't heard back from us, because it does have to be posted on October 16th. And then after we get back to you with an approval letter, you can change that October 16th date to the date on the approval letter you received.
Okay. And then if we just, like I said, we post that on the door or wherever, so it's available, we can notify customers individually after.
Yes.
Okay. And is there a deadline on that?
To
No.
notify the customers, that would be the CCR requirement.
I thought it was the CCR requirement and we had a year to do it. But in the seminar here, he just said we would have to file the CCR sooner than the next required date.
I think that was for that system specifically. They have a specific setup, the way they distribute their CCR to customers, and they wanted to use that for to alert consumers. So that was, I think that was system specific for them.
Okay, understood. Okay, thank you.
And then Bianca?
Hi. So I think you already answered this in one of your slides, but I just wanted confirmation. Now that the LCRI has been released, are we required to submit our lead service line replacement plans next Wednesday?
So if you are receiving SRF funding, then yes, you should plan to submit it. If you are not receiving SRF funding, it's not a requirement until 2027.
Okay, and the requirement to make it publicly accessible upon request, does that apply also if you're getting SRF funding?
That's a requirement for everyone, yes.
Okay.
And I just want to add that it's the lead service line replacement plan that it's due if you're using SRF. It's a summary. Sorry, I don't know if you can understand me, but it's only the summary that is on our website.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Let's do a last check if there's any other questions before we end the meeting.
I think that's it.
Okay. So thank you everyone for attending. And like Yvette and Damon had said earlier, we will post this online on Friday with the slides, and then we will compile all the questions into a Q&A. All right, I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.